Let's chat on that for a minute. The Pavilion. I noticed you were a big part in the rebuilding of that, the reopening of it.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit. How did that go?
If people don't know what the Pavilion is, it's just like an iconic fucking venue in Halifax. It's been like the only all ages dedicated venue, like for the longest time. Like there's only like 2 other all ages venues in Halifax, and they're very, very small and like hard to get or whatever, right? But like the Pavilion has like given start to like some huge bands that come in. Like probably the most iconic one was like Cypress Soneyes.
Okay.
And they're just called Soneyes now, and they're like a metal band. But all those guys went to school right by the Pavilion, and like when they were like 13 and 14, they formed their band and started doing Pavilion shows. And like they tour Europe and stuff regularly now. And like they brought Protest the Hero and Cancer Bastu there.
Oh, okay.
And like they've done wild
I heard
shows,
Protest the Hero.
Yeah, so like that used to be like the place to go. Like when I was like 15 to 18, we used to go to shows like a ton at the Pavilion.
Yeah.
Like we go like every weekend or every other weekend, and it was just always awesome shows. Like it was a really good community, right? And then in 2014, like a lot of those people are older now, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where we ran into the issue, is now we're getting a new wave of like young people, right? But in 2014, it was a government-funded building, but the government pulled the funding on it just because they're doing budget cuts. They're like, oh, who gives a fuck about music? Who needs?
Is that when they were doing the whole film budget cut and all that shit?
Yeah, well, that probably came a little later after, but like it was around like the same time where like they're cutting out the arts and stuff. Yeah. Considering like
the entertainment industry around here.
Yeah. So and they didn't realize that they just left this huge fucking gap of like kids that just turned 19 and could go to bars. Like they don't know what a live music show is. Yeah. You know, they're like, oh, you mean DJs? Yeah. Right? Like you go to the club and
go
there's
to
DJs.
The dome and there's DJs.
No. Shit like that, right? Yeah. Like live music. And like the good thing with the Pavilion too is like some of these dudes get out there at a bar, you're 19, 20, you've never been out before, they'll drink their ass off and be a dickhead to everyone, get
himself.
Like, because they don't know etiquette at a show, you know, smoking weed in front of the fucking doors by the bouncer and stuff. So, like, that's what we're, like, good thing about the Pavilion is we're teaching that stuff. But, like, basically, like, the government pulled the funding in 2014, and then in 2015, CJ Hill, me, and, like, a bunch of, like, Caleb Scriber, a bunch of other people, we formed like the Pavilion like student association, and like we were all taking music business at NSCC at the time, and like similar programs in music, and we started doing small like fundraise shows at Plan B. Like I don't know if you.
I've seen them. I was gonna go to one of them, but I think there was a snowstorm or something.
Yeah, Mike made it out to one or whatever, and so we did shows there. Like we did like shows every week for like 2 months of like different varying genres. We did like a really, really fucking good hip hop show. Like
I've seen the clips on that.
Like it's a tiny venue. Like it's in the back of like a thrift shop, right? And like this is what we were like illustrating to the government. We're like, yo, if you take away the Pavilion, then all the kids have that are young musicians are performing in the back of a thrift shop. You can rent for $40, and it can fit maybe 50 people in there if you rearrange it, right? But like we packed the house. It was awesome. Everyone's like, man, like we want to do more shows like this in bigger venues. All the rock shows went really well and stuff. So we raised a few grand, just enough to get like basically because like we didn't have any government funding, so we had to pay insurance, we had to pay security, which is not cheap. Like security for the Pavilion events are like $250 for just like 2 security guards for 3 hours, you know.
Just for 3 hours.
We do our shows 6:30 to 9:30. And but so we got enough to open it up for one like big show, and we brought back like Soneyes, bands that got their start there, and we did like a metal show, because that's originally what the Pavilion was geared towards, metal and punk, right? And we're trying to rebrand it now, like that's what it was, and we wanted to do like a throwback to that. So all those people came out, plus like a new wave of people came out, made like $3,000 in one night. And a bunch of the bands donated back their guarantee. I think it was Sleep Shaker. I think it was Sleep Shaker. Donated like half their merch, gears, like money and stuff like that. Just showed up with a big wad. It was like, man, like thanks for having us.
So did all that go back into future events for the Pavilion?
So basically like, there's a fund, and that's why like with my Pavilion events and stuff, I'm super choosy with who gets on them, and like you can't just be like wanting a place to perform and stuff like that, or thinking like you can put on a good show. Like it is about like getting your fans through the door and keeping that place alive.
You have to make
like,
sure it's a top quality show
exactly,
in order for
right?
it to continue.
And I need to make sure everyone's gonna do their maximum to bring money to this place, because like a few bad shows can close it again.
Yeah.
You know, and like they'll admit that too. Like it's a music venue. It's hard to keep open, right?
So you just hosted some battles and stuff there recently too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So how did that go?
Oh, that was actually a really good event. It was a good turnout. We so what we did was we did like a spoken word hip hop night. So the first hour was I think they're called Poetry for Progress, and they're like a group of like spoken word artists and stuff like that. So they came out. It was like all ages event. So they did the first hour. There's some spoken word and stuff. Kind of kick it off. So you don't see that much, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. Like it's a community event. It's not like a bar, right?
No,
so like everything's like open. It's a pretty accepting place. So like it was cool to see something like that to kind of ease the night in. Almost like the aspect of like hip hop and rap that people don't think about. You know, like the most basic, just spoken word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was cool. And then second hour we had like Woozy Blanks, Ghetto Socks, and Uncle Fester came from
That's
Raw
pretty deep
Cypher.
ladder right there,
Yeah, so they came and did the Raw Cypher thing for like an hour, and there was like performances from I think like Majé did some performances and stuff, and so that was dope. Like and then like we had like the open cypher, so like people could jump there, so like just like dudes could walk in like be rapping next to Ghetto Socks and stuff, right? So like it was cool to like have those guys come in and like mentor the guys. Like they all hung out the parking lot with everyone. Was like, yo man, like you had a good.
And that's cool to see
like,
the veterans, you know, so to speak,
exactly right,
involved
like,
in it, and one who would inject some of their knowledge into the younger guys.
Exactly right, and like they just
would make you feel good.
Oh, you're damn right.
Yeah. And like it just keeps kids focused too, and like makes things seem more attainable for them too. To be like, hey, like if I keep coming out to these events, like I meet more guys like that, you know.
That's right.
And then the last hour we had battles, and we had fucking Pat Stay and Quake Matthews came out to host our battles. Like
Pat Stay, the biggest name in Nova Scotia, not the biggest name in Canada rap or battle rap. Like
you
it's,
know, like so they came out, man. They did it for nothing. Like they came out just for
that's wicked. Like
just to put on for like the kids and basically like mentor the kids, like just meet them, let the kids like talk to them and like whatever. Like it was awesome for me.
And that's where changes start. Like it changes when you have these bigger names, you know, collaborating with the younger guys and the not so popular and the not so blown up companies or whatever, and being able to, you know, expand your knowledge and your fan base of your popularity onto these little guys and spreading the word out to these little guys and you know, making the scene bigger. Like it's not a big scene around here for us when we just have a bunch of little companies and a bunch of little promoters doing these little local shows all the time. That's just killing our music industry. But when we have bigger names like this coming through all the time, like for us, we get happy when we get Jay Brew to come down for Rapping Gifts. You know, like I said before, everybody's equal to me, but I have no problem calling him the king because the man does work. Like he's, you know, especially now trying to do shit with his foot, being a father.
Even the veterans have looked up to him. And
exactly,
like,
right.
He
and
was
it's
doing
like
when I was doing it, like starting out, you know.
And now, like with our little bit of working with him just through Rapping Gifts, now next year he wants to come on board and help us plan and bring in some even bigger veterans and whatever to come through the show too. So it's like, and that just happened with doing the right connections and bringing the right name into an event, and that's all it takes, right? Like it's,
well, a lot of it also comes to paying them homage too. I see a lot of people like, why don't the vets fuck with us? And I was like, when was the last time you invited them out to a show, or like went to one of their shows? Like you know, or it's like shared their new mixtape. Like if you didn't listen to like the J Brew and Miracle, like the 2K thing, like if you didn't listen to that, then like why are you gonna be like, man, Miracle and J Brew didn't come to my show? It's like, well, you wouldn't even share their fucking mixtape. So like, do you even really care? Like, is it about like you think that they're not paying attention to the next generation, or they're just not paying attention to you? And that hurts you.
You know, it's
it is, and that's exactly it. Like it's,
you give no attention, you get no attention.
And we talked about this last week in a sort of sense where it's like you can't rely on, you know, I support you, you support me. You know, at the end of the day, you still have to provide a reason for people to want to support you and whatever. But you know, always being humble and always, you know, putting yourself out there, it always helps. Like, you know, if you're like, if you never once share anybody's stuff, or you hardly share your own stuff, or all you do is share your stuff, like it's, people don't want to pay attention to that stuff because they just see your ignorance in it. They see that you don't want to, you're not willing to collaborate with other people, you're not willing to see other people succeed, and that's, people are going to see that and they're going to, you know, call you out on it, and you're not going to get much more done. Exactly.
You know, like a lot of fans be driven away, and also like possible future, you know, connections that you might have.
Like I said, you never know who you're going to work with in this industry. You might not like somebody now, but you never know what they're going to be like in 5 years from now.